Hello, this is Lavanya, Become E-commerce final year, Nizam College. Today my first session is about create a database, create a table. LibreOffice Base is a tool to create and manage databases. But the first thing I want to point out is we don't call this LibreOffice database because it's not the database by itself. The default database for LibreOffice Base is HSQLDB. But it can also be used as a front end to read in other databases like MySQL or an Access database. For this tutorial series, we are going to treat it as if it were an all-in-one database, although it's not, meaning we are only going to use the default HSQL database. When we open up LibreOffice Base, it brings up a database wizard and asks us what we want to do. Do we want to create a new database, open an existing database file, or connect to an existing database? Open an existing database file, or now if we had a database out there, we could select that, connect to an Access database, or down here we see MySQL. I don't have one out there now, but if I did, we could create forms and reports from it. What we want to do is create a new database, so I am going to select that preview button and click on next, and I'm also going to mention let's go back. Save and proceed does the same thing as next. You click at this, brings it to the next screen. Now it's asking us, do we want our database registered? It really doesn't matter right now, we can always register it later. I will mention that registering your database just makes your database viewable to the different LibreOffice modules it has. Nothing to do with any online registry of any kind. If you want to know a little more about how the registry works right now, you might want to check out the LibreOffice Writer mail merge videos. We will look at how registered databases work later in the series, but that's way down the road. I'm not going to register my database right now, but if I will open the database for editing. I'm going to click finish, and I want to give this a name. I'm going to give our database the name ODB01 employees and click save. We told it to open database and that we did, so we see it up at the top on our title bar, ODB01 employees, and right now we have been empty database. We are at our main screen and we see three windows, one that says database, one that says tasks, any other says tables. Under database we have tables selected. If I change this to queries, we see our tasks changed. And our third window now says queries. And the same thing happens for forms and reports. We are going to start with tables. Sensor database won't load any good without any data in it, and all the data we are going to need a table. Looking over data, this top on says create a table in design view. And the description for that is create the table by specifying the field names and properties as well as the data types. That's the one we want, so I'm going to click on it. This brings up something that looks like a spreadsheet with three columns. We see field name, field type, and description. To help us visualize what we want to create, I'm going to use the team contact list we created in the calc series with a few changes to it. Here we see we got last name, first name, gender, start date and end date, phone number and so on. When we formed editor calc spreadsheet, we used different formatting for our text fields, for our date fields, and for our numeric fields. We are going to do the same thing here. One difference between a new database and the calc employee list is we want each employee to have its own number. Just like most companies give employees numbers to the employees or schools might give a student number to each student. We're going to do the same thing here, and we want LibreOffice Basic to enter it all in for us. In their field name, we are going to call this employees ID. LibreOffice Base wants is to enter the scene as text field. We're going to change this to integer. Down in our field properties, we have a thing called auto value. We want to turn this to S. So thus will auto populate this field for us, giving each employee a different number, starting with your own and counting up. I'm going to put a description N. We're going to see this is the unique employee number. Looking back at our calc sheet, we now have last name and first name. This one we can use a text watcher. Looking down our field properties, it's asking us if this entry is required. We want to say yes. We need to have last name if we are going to give them employees ID. The length is 100, but when we see watcher, that means variable characters. If we don't use all 100 characters, it will just cut it off to what we need and only use the memory which we need. So we prefer watcher because that's a little more efficient than fixed. Giving it description. Now the first name, we are going to make first name required as well and leave the rest. And we'll put in a description here. Next one we have is gender. Instead of variable characters this time, we are going to make this one fixed and we are going to give it a length of 6. Under our description, we are going to say it must be either male or female. Next week at the start date, and we are going to make this one a date field. Since the descriptions are not required, I am going to enter in the rest without any descriptions. Now we have our entire table entered. The only other thing I want to point out right here is if I want to add a field, I can go up to where it is, right click and insert a row, new field. But once I save this database, I can't do that. Any new field I want to enter, after I save this database, we have to go at the bottom. You'll see later that it really won't be that a big deal. But just to let you know, we can't change the order before we see at the table. Let's save it right now. I'm going to give it a name of employees. So now we got an empty table inside of our database. To open up this table, double click on it, and there's all the fields that we just entered. If I right click on this, it brings up a shortcut menu. We can copy this table, delete it, rename it, edit or open. When we double click it, we opened it. Now we are going to take a look at edit. Edit brings us back into the edit mode. Edit mode is where we added all our fields to the table. We may want to add or delete a field. This is where we would make that kind of change. Now I'm gonna open it, and let's add some data. Now this first one was said was awful field, so we don't need to enter that field. Let's get our values for calc table. We've got last name Taylor, Mark, he's a male, start date was 2005, 10/31. To get to the next row, I'll just pick tab. So we see that our first employee ID turns to 0. If I start to type in the next one, not put in its last name. Now I try to save this table. It gives me an error because our last name in our first name will require fields. So I have to give it at least a last name and the first meeting. Now I can save the table. I've typed the rest of the data in from the spreadsheet. So now we've got some data in our table, in our database. So I'm going to save my table and save my database. If you like this video, please share and subscribe. Thank you.